In the town of Midland, Pennsylvania, there lived a 30-year-old woman named Rachel Deltonda, a talented elementary school teacher who dedicated her life to working with children. Her sincerity, dedication, and love for her students made her an exemplary educator. Despite her mature age, Rachel still lived under the same roof as her parents, Lisa and Joe, who resided in the small town of Aliquippa. However, this did not prevent her from building serious romantic relationships. The chosen one of Rachel's heart was Frank Catropa, her longtime acquaintance, with whom she had been friends since childhood. As they grew older, their friendship blossomed into something more. Frank, being the son of a former police officer, managed to build a successful business in the field of freight transportation. His entrepreneurial talent was so impressive that one of the local online magazines dubbed him the Wolf of Aliquippa. At work, Rachel was known for her kindness and willingness to help every student, especially those who had certain difficulties in learning or behavior. She put her heart and soul into her work. When asked about Rachel, Frank always spoke of her in the warmest terms. She is an incredible girl, beautiful, sincere, and with a huge heart. I am head over heels in love with her. However, as Rachel's best friend Jen Glavin revealed, not everything was so cloudless in the couple's relationship. Rachel really wanted to get married and have children. Sometimes she would sadly joke that she wouldn't even put a ring on her finger for a day. Jen shared her memories. According to her, Rachel was in no hurry to move out from her parents' place until the official wedding. Being of Italian descent, she adhered to traditional views and did not want to upset her relatives. Therefore, the girl constantly hinted to Frank that it was high time he proposed to her, as they had been dating for 5 whole years. And so, finally, it happened. During a romantic trip to Paris, Frank got down on one knee and asked for Rachel's hand in marriage, reinforcing his words with a luxurious 6-carat diamond engagement ring. Filled with happiness, the girl immediately called her mother to share the joyful news. From that moment on, wedding fuss and active preparation for the solemn event began. Once, Frank let slip about his desire to sign a prenuptial agreement. Rachel initially agreed, as she was completely satisfied with its terms. She loved Frank not for his money, but for his human qualities. However, later the girl changed her mind and refused this idea. As it turned out, Rachel's mother, Lisa, was categorically against the prenuptial agreement. It was after her intervention that the preparation for the wedding came to an abrupt halt. Although the lovers were still together, friction and misunderstandings began to arise in their relationship. Rachel's relatives also noticeably cooled towards Frank. For his part, the groom admitted that the more he distanced himself from his beloved, the more she became jealous of him. One weekend in 2016, when Frank went to the Super Bowl game with friends, there were other girls in his company. Rachel was insanely jealous, but Frank considered it just ordinary paranoia. But despite the rejection of wedding plans, the couple still stayed together. A year passed, and traditionally, Catropa organized a grand party on the occasion of his birthday in one of the bars in the center of Aliquippa. Rachel and her friends, Jen Glavin and Matt Motz, were present at the celebration. They hadn't seen each other for several months, and after the meeting, a concerned Jen took her friend aside to ask what was going on with her. Rachel seemed nervous, very changed, and not at all like her former self. "I feel like something is wrong with you," Jen said frankly. "I don't know what it is, but you're doing something very bad. I'm worried about you, Rachel." These words greatly angered Deltonda. And then the incredible happened, something that had never occurred before. In a rage, Rachel lashed out and hit Jen in the face. A fierce quarrel broke out between the girlfriends. Noticing the fight, Frank immediately rushed to the girls. Crying, Glavin pleadingly said to him, "Ask her, I beg you, what she was doing in the car at night with some boy." Wanting to take revenge on her friend, Jen broke her promise and revealed the secret that Rachel had so desperately asked her to keep. Jen told Frank the shocking secret: almost a year ago, just when he was hanging out with other girls, Rachel did something that jeopardized not only her professional career, but also their relationship. Glavin's memories brought back recollections of that fateful weekend after the Super Bowl, when Rachel showed up on her doorstep completely broken, trembling all over and choking with sobs. Through tears, Deltonda told her friend about the incident that occurred with a 17-year-old football player named Sheldon Jetter. It turned out that Rachel had met Jetter many years ago when she worked as a teacher's assistant at his school. Since then, a friendship had developed between them. She said that around midnight, Sheldon wrote to her on Facebook that he urgently needed to talk. Jen shared the details. Rachel agreed to meet with him. So, they met, and Sheldon sat in the front passenger seat of Rachel's car. But at some point, a police patrol drove up to them with the intention of checking what was happening. "It's all right, officer, we're just talking," Rachel assured them. The girl explained that Sheldon was her friend. When the police asked if she and the boy had used any prohibited substances, she answered no. She also denied it when they inquired whether they had been intimate in the car. Rachel told her friend all about this, begging her not to disclose what she had heard to anyone. The girl just wanted to talk and find support, because the situation was extremely unpleasant. But, as Jen admitted, deep down she felt that Rachel was hiding something. And when, at the party, Glavin retold this story to Frank, his fiancée assured him that she was just trying to help the teenager. Ketropa believed her. But that was not the end of it. Rachel complained to Frank that Jen and Matt were spreading rumors that she was cheating on him with other men. After this conversation, Ketropa decided to cut off all contacts with Jen and Matt, supporting his beloved. But about a year later, he still began to have doubts, and he decided to find out what had really happened between Rachel and Sheldon Jetter. For this purpose, Frank turned to the police department in Aliquippa, where he asked the assistant police chief, Joe Percy, to provide him with a report on the incident. But to obtain a copy of the document, an official statement was required. Although Percy initially refused to help Ketropa, his boss, who was a close friend of Frank's, ordered him to prepare the necessary papers. That same day, Ketropa carefully studied the report and was extremely shocked by what he saw. It turned out that the version of events set forth in the official document was radically different from the one Rachel had told him. According to police records, Rachel and Jetter were caught in her car around 2 o'clock in the morning, not at 11 p.m., as the girl claimed. And it happened nowhere else but in a deserted parking lot. The windows in the car were completely fogged up, which led law enforcement officers to think that the vehicle had been standing there for quite a long time. Moreover, the passenger seat was fully reclined. The report stated that Rachel explained to the police that Jetter had once been her student, and now they were just friends who decided to talk. The girl also let slip that she did not want her fiancé to find out about this incident, because he would be furious. Studying the official document, Frank Ketropa felt a bitter taste of disappointment. He was deeply saddened and confused. Eventually, he was allowed to take a copy of the report with him. Shortly after becoming familiar with the report, someone used it to damage Rachel Deltonda's reputation as a teacher. An unknown sender anonymously sent this compromising document to the email address of the school where Rachel worked. Copies of the letter were also received by the local school board, the media, and even the mayor of the city. Lisa Deltonda, Rachel's mother, was convinced that Frank Ketropa was behind this. "He tried to ruin my daughter's life and our whole family's life out of jealousy," she stated. However, Frank himself categorically denied any involvement in the dissemination of the report, although he admitted that he had shown a copy of it to several people. It became known that together with the report, Ketropa received a whole folder with confidential personal information, including social security numbers and driver's licenses, which should never be shared with outsiders under any circumstances. All this data was also sent by email. The police suggested that although Frank might not have personally sent the letters, he passed the report to someone else who made the anonymous mailing. A few days after the publication of the report, Rachel Deltonda lost her job. The girl stopped eating and sleeping normally, so she was forced to seek medical help. She was hospitalized in the psychiatric ward, where she spent 3 days. Rachel's parents categorically denied the existence of any relationship between their daughter and Sheldon Jetter. She was just trying to help this poor boy, Lisa Deltonda claimed. However, Michael Santicola, Sheldon Jetter's lawyer, insisted that Rachel had never been his client's teacher, and their relationship went far beyond ordinary friendship. It didn't start in the car. Rachel and Sheldon had a relationship that lasted quite a long time. He was a star, an athlete, and most girls adore athletes, Santicola stated. Michael Moreland, Jetter's uncle, said that he knew about his nephew's romance with someone, but he didn't even suspect that it was a teacher. However, at some point, he had a suspicion that Sheldon's girlfriend was much older than the boy, because she gave him expensive gifts. In particular, on Christmas, Jetter got an expensive watch. When his uncle asked him where he got it from, Sheldon replied that it was a present from his girlfriend. Lawyer Santicola was convinced that Sheldon and Rachel kept their relationship a secret and did not tell anyone about it. Rachel's mother refuted this information, assuring that there was no romance between her daughter and Jetter. According to Lisa, Rachel was only trying to help the boy with his studies, and he misinterpreted her kindness and warm friendly feelings as love. Lisa Deltonda emphasized that her daughter always shared her innermost secrets with her, but never mentioned an intimate relationship with Jetter. However, this does not prove that there was nothing between them. Lisa Deltonda also told an illustrative story related to Jetter. Once, in the middle of the night, a drunk Sheldon came to their house and started banging on the window. In response, Lisa aimed a pneumatic pistol at him, after which the boy quickly left. Jetter himself denies that such an incident ever happened at all. By December 2017, Rachel Deltonda was left without a job. She severed all contacts with her former fiancé Frank Katroppa and distanced herself from Sheldon Jetter. Rachel became a recluse and withdrawn. Lisa Deltonda, outraged by how they treated her daughter, decided to take matters into her own hands and turned to the media. She introduced Rachel to John Paul, who ran an online news service. Although they never met in person, according to Paul, he spoke with Rachel several times, and she claimed to have information about corruption among city officials. Rachel portrayed the city as a rotten system where officials are paid to turn a blind eye to illegal actions. However, as John Paul noted, the girl did not provide any evidence to back up her words. Soon, Rachel began receiving threats. The girl suspected that the police were following her. She told Paul about the intimidation and direct threats, which unequivocally hinted that she might not live to see the end of 2018. Jackie Belcastro, Rachel's aunt, confirmed that her niece complained to her about being stalked. The woman assumed that Frank Katroppa was somehow involved in this, although he denied it in every possible way. In the spring of 2018, Rachel Deltonda made every effort to forget about her fears and start living a normal life again. She spent time with Rashawn Bolton, the 32-year-old half-brother of Sheldon Jetter. It was next to him that the girl felt safe. However, her new relationship only infuriated Sheldon. The boy's uncle said that at first he was upset, but quickly came to his senses and switched to another girl. Jetter never had any problems with that. On Sunday, May 13, 2018, when Mother's Day was celebrated in America, Rashawn Bolton was out of town. Rachel decided to meet with her 17-year-old friend and former student, Lauren Watkins. "We're going to Hank's for ice cream," Rachel said to her mom. Lisa Deltonda couldn't even imagine that she was hearing the last words of her child. The girls had a carefree time, driving around in a car, listening to music, and chatting. Lauren recalled that during one of the trips, they passed by Sheldon Jetter. Noticing them, the boy immediately wrote to Lauren on Facebook, "Hey, I just passed by you guys." After receiving a response from Lauren, Sheldon asked, "What are you doing?" But the girl decided not to react to his messages anymore. According to Lauren, she briefly drove Rachel home so that she could get a sweatshirt, as the weather was chilly. After that, the girlfriends went to Hank's Cafe for ice cream. On the way, they picked up another acquaintance, 25-year-old Tyric Jetter, Sheldon's half-brother. It was from Tyric, who actively corresponded with his brother, that Sheldon knew for certain where Rachel would be that night and at what time she would be returning home. Lauren Watkins walked Rachel all the way to the house and saw with her own eyes that her friend reached the side door. There were no cars or people around. Inside the room where Rachel entered, her father was sitting in his favorite chair. No more than 4 minutes had passed since Lauren left Rachel, and Deltonda was already dead, shot in the complete absence of any witnesses at the crime scene. Rachel's parents instantly realized who was behind this crime, Sheldon Jetter. They did not doubt for a second that he was guilty of their daughter's death. However, Sheldon's uncle, Michael Moreland, claimed that on that night, his nephew was at home with his grandfather and helped take care of his elderly father. It hadn't been even a few hours after Rachel Deltonda's death when the police were already standing on the doorstep of Sheldon Jetter's home, trying to interrogate him. When law enforcement officers demanded that Sheldon provide them with the clothes he was wearing on the fatal night, the boy handed over a completely different set. Near the bed where he slept, there was a whole pile of clothes on the floor. "Are those the clothes you were wearing then?" the police asked. "Yes, these are all my clothes," Sheldon replied. Jetter's lawyer, Michael Santicola, insists that his client is not to blame for the police taking the wrong things. At the same time, the report notes that the boy did not show any emotions when he learned about Rachel's death. Sheldon's uncle, Michael Moreland, refutes this statement. He felt lousy. Everyone who heard about the tragedy felt the same way. Shortly after Rachel's death, her friend Lauren Watkins told reporters that she did not believe that Jetter was capable of such a terrible act. According to her, she never once heard from Rachel that she was afraid of him. Jetter's lawyer claims that Sheldon is completely uninvolved in the murder of Rachel Deltonda. There is no evidence linking him to the crime, Michael Santicola emphasizes. And indeed, the police failed to find anything that would directly indicate Sheldon's guilt. The night Rachel Deltonda was shot near her parents' house in the town of Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, there were already 8 unsolved crimes in this locality. Almost 2 years passed. On May 15, 2020, another ice cream trip ended in tragedy. This time the victim was Tyric Pugh, a person whom both Sheldon Jetter and Michael Moreland considered a family friend. Earlier that same day, Pugh was together with Jetter and Moreland at an ice cream cafe. And again, Sheldon Jetter's relationship with the victim drew unwanted attention to him. Investigators visited Sheldon's house on the very night Pugh was shot, as they found out that the address of this residence was indicated in the deceased's driver's license. Uncle Moreland confirmed that Pugh occasionally lived with them. Jetter readily told detectives about his whereabouts on the night of the tragedy with Pugh, but the footage from surveillance cameras contradicted his words. The video clearly shows Sheldon Jetter leaving the house together with old Pugh at 11:10 p.m. on May 15, 2020. Later, the cameras recorded Sheldon returning alone. Around the same time that Jetter crossed the threshold of the house by himself, a driver accidentally stumbled upon Tyric's body and called the police at 911. The next day, Sheldon was summoned to TH police station for a conversation with investigators. While the interrogation was underway, a search was conducted in his home, during which a gun was found under his mattress. Further examination proved that it was from this weapon that Tyric Pugh was killed. Jetter's lawyer, Michael Santicola, said that the prosecutor's office pressured his client, demanding that he also confess to the unsolved murder of Rachel Deltonda. In early June 2021, Sheldon Jetter appeared in court for taking the life of Tyric Pugh. The hearing took place behind closed doors, without camera access. Jetter himself did not testify, but the jury was shown about 2 hours of video recordings of his police interrogations. Although the motive for the crime was never voiced, after several hours of deliberation, the panel found 23-year-old Sheldon guilty. In the state of Pennsylvania, first-degree murder carries a mandatory punishment of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. After Sheldon Jetter's arrest and conviction in the Pugh case, public attention was again drawn to the unsolved murder of Rachel Deltonda. An active investigation is currently underway. My detectives and prosecutors are working tirelessly, assures Marie Barth, the county district attorney. I think we will get answers. Frank Catropa was cleared of all suspicions of involvement in the crime against Rachel Deltonda. Shortly after losing her daughter, Lisa Deltonda made an ominous prophecy: her child's killer would never face trial. The Deltonda family prays that people will remember Rachel not for the tragic circumstances of her death, but for how bright and sincere her life was. I want everyone to know, she was a wonderful person with a huge heart, says the mother of the deceased. The case of Rachel Deltonda still remains unsolved. The investigation continues. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Until next time, friends.